Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So, it's been a week since I found out that I passed my third CPA exam, which was FAR. And if you have already taken it, then you know how great of a feeling it is to get that over with. People consider FAR as the beast of all the CPA exams, and I think I totally agree with them. It's not necessarily hard, it just requires a lot of study time because of the massive amount of material that you are expected to know. So if you are studying for FAR, do not underestimate it. I know someone who studied for FAR for about 2.5 weeks because he said he did great in all of his intermediate and advanced accounting classes in school, and he failed miserably in the exam. So do not underestimate it and definitely take this exam seriously. So a little bit of a background. I already passed audit and reg on my first try. I sat for reg on May 31st, and then I sat for FAR on July 16th. So that gave me about 6 weeks to prepare and study for it. I want to make this video and share my experience to encourage you that despite the difficulty of this exam, it is absolutely not impossible to pass. So I'm really hoping that you'll learn something from this. And if you're done studying for FAR, and if you have other sections that you are studying for, then the study method that I am going to talk about will definitely help you too. And if you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Alright, let's get to it. I want to start by saying that I used Becker to study for FAR and a little bit of Roger. I watched a few video lectures through Roger and then regretted doing it. I do think it's nice to have a supplement, but in my case, it just confused me. And it's really hard having two sets of, mnemonics in your head. And I am not really a big fan of Roger's website. It just seems slow and not really user-friendly, but that is just my opinion. If you love Roger's CPA and it works great for you, that's amazing. And that's why I've always said that there's really no such thing as, the best review material, because what works for me might not work for you. And just a disclaimer, Becker is not paying me to do this video. It would be nice if they did, but I'm a big advocate of Becker because it has worked for me. So I'll take you through my Becker account and show you how I studied for FAR. Becker has a study plan option or calendar, which is great. I've kind of designed my own, but if this is your first exam and you don't know how to really plan everything out, then this is a great tool to give you an idea on how to do it. So just click on the calendar here, click on adjust schedule, go back, and then you pick the section that you are taking, click on next, pick the date, click on next. It will ask you how many weeks you plan on studying, when you want to start, click on next, and then confirm, and it will give you a layout on what chapters to study in a given week. So just click on next and adjust schedule. I actually really like that option on Becker because this will keep you accountable too. If you see how many days you have left before your exam, and if you're behind your schedule, then it gives you a little push to study harder. So what I did was I looked at all the chapters first. So I'll click on FAR, and Becker has 10 chapters for FAR. And then I did my checklist, which is basically just a list of the topics within each chapter. That way I knew exactly what chapters I needed to focus on. I contacted Becker a few months ago and requested that they provide a downloadable list of all the topics, but they haven't done it yet, so I had to make my own. So Becker's recommended study method is to watch the lectures, do the skills practice, and then do the multiple choice questions. I did that for my first exam, which was audit. And then when I studied for Reg and FAR, I realized that I really didn't have a lot of time to spend watching the skills practice videos, so I skipped all of that. I watched most of the video lectures, and for the topics that seemed familiar to me, like M1 here and then M3, I did the multiple choice questions first, and if I scored in the 70s, then I would skip the video lecture altogether and move on to the next module. So I watched the videos at 1.5 times speed. This is definitely something that requires getting used to, and make sure that when you do this, you are still understanding the topic. This technique really saved me a lot of time and kept me somewhat entertained too. And you can also think of it as a little brain exercise or something. So while I'm watching the video lectures, I'm not writing any notes unless there are mnemonics or topics that seemed difficult. And then when I do the multiple choice questions, that's when I start writing my notes. See, this is probably one of the things that I really love about Becker. Their answer explanations are the best. When they explain the answer, it's like they are using regular words. I mean, they're not using jargons. And it's like how you would explain LIFO and FIFO to a friend who knows nothing about accounting. They don't just copy and paste the explanation from the book. They really explain why the answer is correct and why the other choices are not. So I don't really stress out about my score in the MCQs. As long as I score at least in the high 60s, I am fine with it. Some people redo the multiple choice questions until they get 100. I don't do that. Because of the notes that I take on the questions I get wrong, I am confident that I understand the topic. The only time I redo the multiple choice questions is during my final review. So after watching the video lectures and doing the multiple choice questions for all the modules in the chapter, I do progress tests before moving on to the next one. So I do this process for all of the chapters. I normally do 2 chapters a week, sometimes 3. It depends on the amount of time I have to study and the difficulty of the topic. But I try to keep an open mind and be flexible. Not everything will go as planned, and no matter how much I want to stick to my schedule, sometimes things happen that are beyond my control. So definitely try to keep an open mind and don't be too stressed out when you fall behind. I normally leave 2 weeks for final review. I tried using the Becker final review. I didn't use it for audit and reg, but I figured I could use all the resources I could get knowing how, difficult FAR was. I have mixed feelings about the final review. Like I said in my other videos, it's really just a summary of the book. So if you've read the book, watched the lectures, took notes, then I don't think spending extra money is worth it. Unless the final review comes with your materials, then definitely incorporate that with your final review process. I ended up not really using the final review because I didn't have enough time, and I decided to rely more on my own notes. I also didn't do the mock exams the way we're supposed to. A lot of people say that doing the mock exams is kind of a waste of time. I don't necessarily agree with that. And the thing is, we all have busy schedules, and so it's hard to dedicate 4 hours to sit and do one mock exam. And there's like 3 of them. And since your mock exam is really not a good indicator of your actual exam score, there is absolutely no reason to be stressing out when you get your result. So for the most part, I did the mock exam per testlet. So I did the first testlet, not really worrying about the time, and then submitted everything out without answering testlet 2, 3, 4, and 5. and then I reviewed it, took more notes on the ones I got wrong, and then did test it 2, skipped the rest, reviewed, took notes, and then did test it 3, skipped the rest, and so on and so forth. You get the pattern. The reason behind that process is that I considered the mock exams not so much as an exam, but more like part of my final review process. And it gave me an opportunity to write more notes. I also tried to redo all the multiple choice questions from all the chapters. I didn't get all of them done, but I did as much as I could. Now, with the simulations, I watched most of the Skill Masters video. So if you're logged in to your Becker account, just click on this video icon here, and it will show you the library for all the Skills Masters video. And because the simulations for the FAR exam can be so overwhelming with so many exhibits, I would really recommend you watch those videos. And in my opinion, some of the videos here did a lot better job in explaining the topic than the video lectures within the chapter. So definitely prepare yourself for a lot of exhibits, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And also, everyone from Becker says that governmental accounting is heavily tested. So if you think you've studied enough of governmental, my suggestion is study more. Because like I said, it is heavily tested. So I've heard. Another thing I want to talk about is that you don't know exactly what you're going to be tested on. So don't spend a ridiculous amount of time on one topic. I mean, you can't spend a week to study pensions or derivatives unless you have, plenty of time to study. But I think it's important to know the basic and move on. Make sure though that you touch on most, if not all, of the topics. I never really finished all of the Becker's materials. As you can see here, it shows that I'm 43% complete for FAR, and I'm sure a big part of that is because I don't do the skills practice videos. I'm not saying that it's a good idea to skip those. I mean, they put it there for a reason, but you know yourself. So if you don't think you need to watch them, then don't, and spend your time writing notes instead, or whatever you think would help you. But if you feel the need to watch every single one of those skills practice, then by all means do it. It might just be the one thing standing between you and the passing score. One last thing. For those of you who don't know, you can request for an actual paper and pencil for your exam. Some people probably love that laminated cardboard that they provide, but if you prefer an actual paper and pencil, then definitely request for it by sending an email to NASBA. And let me tell you, that was a game changer. So that's all I have for you today, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or reach out to me on Instagram. And if you know someone taking FAR, go ahead and share this video with them. And if you are taking it soon or studying for it, I wish you all the best. If I could do it, you definitely can too. I'll see you next time. God bless.